Hi, everybody. Welcome. Apologies. Not doing any. Hey, welcome back. Thank you all for rejoining. Starting to see some familiar names. It's been fun. All right. I will continue to admit people and bring them in. Um, and as I do, I want to go ahead and introduce my good friend and our keynote here today, Damien Peters. Damien and I have known each other for a while. I've given him a few introductions. I'll keep this one a little bit more brief. He is the CEO of WNCP AI. He is also faculty at the University of Maryland, and he is also routinely presenting on product management here with the University of Maryland and providing some amazing presentations that you can go and take a look at product.umd.edu. Damien cut his teeth at Zynga and Meta, where he was a product manager for a number of years. He also has done startups and he is taking them through to acquisition. So he knows a thing or two about what it takes in order to get attention, as well as to deliver some high working products at scale. Today, his presentation is The Speed of Craft, Rapid Prototyping in the Age of AI, and I cannot wait to hear it. Damien, always a pleasure. Take it away, sir.
All right. Well, John, thanks for introducing me, and also too, if I don't say it enough, thanks for bringing me to the University of Maryland. It's really been great since being able to be here on staff. I want to thank everyone for coming. Thank you for taking some time out the middle of your day to sit and hear about some of the changes and some of the things coming around in product management, especially with AI and rapid prototyping. A lot of this talk comes from months and months and still ongoing research that I'm doing both in collaboration with University of Maryland, but within WNCPAI around artificial intelligence, product management, and the changing and the evolution of the field of the practice and of software development in this world of rapid AI. I actually want to start with an example. So we worked with a venture partner in Detroit, Michigan recently. So we had actually Detroit's largest AI hackathon. We had a 7-day hackathon where we invited individuals from the area, whether technical or non-technical, working with Invest Detroit Ventures and TechTown, the tech transfer office for Wayne State University. It was a great experience. Normally, a lot of times when I'm working with individuals, they've already done a lot with AI. They may be in industry, but this one was open to everyone. It was a chance for us to understand and learn and teach a little bit more and different
recording in progress
of different experiences. But it was the winner of the contest that I think really drove home some of the impact I think that we see from this. So literally the winner, 313 Beds by Shatera. She designed an app in 7 days that can help a person who is challenged and looking for a bed for the night, for some place to sleep for them and their family, and help them find a bed within Detroit's ecosystem. She had not programmed before. It was her first time. She spent some time with our content, getting trained up on Lovable. We actually ended up burning through tons of credits and ended up switching to different systems, but made it through the end. And in winning, she won a $10,000 grant to continue the idea. And the judges, when they heard the idea, what they said was, this is a solution that is needed right now. I know several shelters, I know several homes that are working, and that they would love a solution. They would take anything that they could get because they have nothing. And the problem is that there's no way, or it's very hard to monetize helping homeless individuals. Because in the 7 days, and because the cost was so low, and because it was something that she cared about, she was able in 7 days and about $150 to win a solution that then got her another $10K continue it. This was the finale where she pitched. You can see her in her suit. Second and third place run 5,000, 2,500. One actually built a prototype for a drone network that would send out drones to help traffic stops and actually help fires. So it was really empowering, really great to see not just what AI rapid prototyping, as we'll hear later, does in large corporations and companies and the FANGs and non-FANGs, but really in terms of on the ground people who can take this and do something real with it, because the cost to build and the um, barriers have gone down drastically. Drastically. All right. Now, I want to do a quick poll. One thing I love to do in these online talks is to do some polls. All right. All right. So, let's see. All right. Trying to get the QR code. Great. So I'll drop this in the chat. Now, what I want to get a sense for is who has vibe coded, who has done any type of AI prototyping. Have you played with any of these tools before? It's always interesting. I have a sales consultant who's completely, I mean, I say completely non-technical, but he had shocked me that he built with Cursor, which I find is scary to people. There's a lot of code there. Gemini, ChatGPT, Claude have all been making this push for these artifacts. Perplexity has, I should have actually added Perplexity here too. Even recently, I just stumbled across Google AI Studio. I've always played with it, but if you're looking for a free kind of lovable replacement and you do not want to spend the money, Google AI Studio has been impressive. You can even download your code to GitHub and then launch over. So a bunch of technical geeky stuff I'm getting into, and I'll talk a little bit about later. But so a good 2/3 have never tried. Have never tried this at all. We've got a quarter who's used ChatGPT and Claude, and even there, I'm interested whether you've built a interactive canvas or whether you're just building like a landing page or kind of what would work there. And then looks just like one each. I'm a little surprised we don't have some more lovable fans, or even Bolton replets. But appreciate everyone for that. All right, and there will be some more questions coming on down the line. So. Don't go too far away from the page. Don't go too far away from your phones. All right, so quick little bit of background in terms of why I'm talking and why I feel that I know a little bit. So currently, I'm the managing partner of WNCP AI. This is a firm that I started to really focus on artificial intelligence and its proliferation. We really focus on understanding artificial intelligence and how it's impacting product management and product development. So we work a lot with startups, founders, corporate enterprise teams, for example, both to understand how to bring these tools into their current non-AI product development, but also for those who are working with LLMs, trying to understand inference cost, evaluations, other things. In addition to that, at the University of Maryland, I am both an alum. Won't state the year because it's depressing at times, but I studied computer science and economics here many years ago, and I'm an adjunct faculty in the product management. So I teach the Introduction to Product Management class. If you have the luxury of being in my class, I try and be a resource and force you to write professional grade stuff that I would expect in my roles. In addition, Management Leadership for Tomorrow is a nonprofit here in the DMV area. I'm there helping as a startup ecosystem advisor. And then in terms of some of the past things that I've done, so Facebook, now Meta, really defined a lot of how I approach product management. I got lucky enough to join early on. I did not personally think Facebook was going to become the behemoth that it was, but some really interesting fun things back in like 2014. I got to give some talks on AI. My team was working on location and places, but we were transitioning into a machine learned component system and base. This was before there was an AI platform at the company. So really early on, really interesting things. And it's amazing to see how relevant that's become like a decade later. Wealth Noir, when I left Facebook, I'd like to say traditional burnout. I got pregnant, said I was working too much. So I left and did what do you do to work less? You found a startup. So I founded Wealth Noir, which was a financial media startup focused on helping individuals, high income individuals, become high net worth individuals. And we were acquired by Savvy Wealth, a wealth tech firm in New York that recently announced their Series B of 72 million. I was employee number 8, some crazy wild times, and it's great to see what the team's doing. And then somewhere in between there, I went to MIT to get my MBA. Have also lived in Spain for 2 years, worked for some Spanish startups as CPOs, worked at City Ventures as an entrepreneur in residence, and done some interesting things. I'd say just a long, random story, including having the pleasure of getting to know John and working with him back at Booz Allen Hamilton, working with Navy clients and the Department of Defense. One thing, if anyone's interested, so with WNCPAI, we are working on some new offerings around executive education. So I mentioned we did this build-a-thon, AI hackathon out in Detroit for a venture partner out there, but a lot of learnings, and we are working now with other organizations, can't name all of them, but those who are interested in learning and going a little bit more deeper into AI, you don't necessarily have the time or space to watch a lot of YouTube videos or take an online course. We have custom and more bespoke offerings for you and your organizations. So I want to start off with why AI prototyping matters. There's a ton of stuff going on in AI. There's a ton of hype. There's a lot of trillion-dollar valuations companies going on. So why is this important? Why understand this versus ML or something else? Now, speed, we need to take it back to product and successful and competition and winning. I am biased. Again, my time at Facebook, it was very impressionable back then, but it formed a lot of my thinking, and I have found that product thinking, those methodologies work in a lot of different areas and different arenas. Whether you are trying to quote unquote conquer the world, or at least have everyone on the world with a mobile device use your product, whether you're looking to have a Boeing 747 fly consistently from one side of the country to the other, whether you're a government organization looking for military capabilities, there's a lot of core understanding of there's a user, there's a person who's going to use it, they're looking to extract value and gain impact. And your goal as a product manager, as a product leader, as a product thinker, designer, engineer, founder is to discover what that is and get your product to that point as quickly as possible. And what we found out over time when we look at the product development lifecycle is that it always has been moving towards speed, towards moving faster, towards getting things out quicker, because what we have learned is that when we ship, we touch our user. When we touch our user, we learn something, given that we are in the mental space to learn something and we're focused on it. So from waterfall, which didn't waited months into years until we actually got to the user, to the agile sprint that was constantly looking at getting things out, to continuous delivery, which is why do we even need a sprint? Just get stuff out all of the time. And what I'm saying is that AI and the tools that we have now are like napalm on top of this, not just fuel, but like napalm. And we're seeing these step changes when we saw the advent of things like Figma and tools that allowed us to create clickable prototypes very, very quickly, tools that allowed us to gain market insights and user insights and pull them in. What we're seeing now is all of that being amplified by artificial intelligence and the tools that are being used. In order to address what the product development lifecycle needs to look like in an AI first world, spent a lot of time, and we're still evolving this. Anyone who's seen a previous talk will notice that the terms have slightly changed. We've moved a little bit of what happens in which stage, but the craft plus framework is really honing on the fact that AI needs humans. We view it as a tool for human enhancement. We think that your product managers, your product teams will be better, faster, that they'll be able to work on things that are more important, and that we think about task replacement as opposed to people replacement. To say that there are going to be things that you don't want to do or took a long time to do or were inefficiently done that you can now do faster using these artificial intelligence tools. And I've given previous talks more about the different types of tools. Since that talk, a million tools were invented. Since I started talking, four new startups have been launched, and three of them just got Series Bs at $150 million because they have launched and gotten users since we've started talking. But the fact is things are moving extremely fast. So this flow, this process, what we start with is the collecting information and developing context. With LLMs, managing the context is extremely important. If anyone's heard of context engineering, it's now the new thing from prompt engineering. So the premise is LLMs are getting a lot better at prompting. They can understand more because we've trained them and we've gotten better at saying, like, give me this, and it can figure out what this is and kind of self-correct itself. But it still goes all over the place. With reasoning agents, you can actually argue that sometimes they go more off the rails because they're allowed to think. They just think, and then, if anyone's played around with programming, you'll see it just completely rewrite things. So what we first start to do is collect and get the context information. That's the user stories, the interviews, the customer support tickets. Then we want to refine and refactor them into a format that the LLMs understand that we can use. If you want to get really technical and nerdy with it, something I'm personally working on is developing a RAF-GRAG database, which is a means of vectorizing information for semantic search, along with applying graph theory for related topics. But on a much normal base, it's putting everything into a text format that the LLM can read. If you've ever struggled with getting ChatGPT to read a file or to look at a picture, you understand it's gotten better, but it's really important to take the information that you want and get into a form that is really good. And the core is that we want the LLM to be structured and focused on the information that we want and that it is important for it to understand, as opposed to just opening up a search agent and giving it, allowing it to go to the internet. Then we analyze and architect. So we have all this huge corpus of information. We've talked to like a million people. We've had the agents go call every single customer and ask them for like three biggest issues. And now what we want to do is like start looking for trends. Like, what are the common complaints? Where are people seeing the biggest bottleneck? What's taking the most amount of time? Where are competitors really winning? And start to pull out the themes and the patterns. We then want to drive insights from that. And then from there, we want to draft specs. We want to draft PRDs. We want to turn our ideas into qualified product thinking and kind of like not just wild guesses. What we're going to spend most of the time today talking on is the forge and form stage. So that's where we take those ideas, we take those specs, and we go very, very quickly, as quickly as possible, to build a working prototype. And I'll explain a prototype is not production code. It is a prototype. We'll get into that in a little bit, but that's what we're going to spend most time on. And then the last thing is, once you have that prototype, it's important that you get it out there and that you iterate and that you repeat the entire process. So quick aside, there's Lenny's podcast was mentioned. Lenny just made a post about a interview he has coming up with, and I can't remember the person, but he explained that this person's flow, their team, in the morning, as it's consistent, their product managers will have an idea or a hypothesis. They are expected to have a working prototype, and they are not allowed to give wireframes or things like that. They're expected to have a working prototype ready by around the middle of the day. In the afternoon, they go to several online platforms, and they're expected to have at least 20 people interact with that prototype and give direct feedback to that person. By the evening, they are capable of now giving a validated prototype that has been touched, modified, and has analytics and data to the development team to then move. Now, you can understand at Facebook, a huge thing was the amount of A/B tests and tests that we did. Billions of them running at any given point in time. And you can imagine if everyone who's thinking about product on their team can go out and validate ideas within 24 hours, a cycle, like what does that look like? How quickly can you iterate and find the most impactful, important parts of your users' problems? And that's where product at speed and where we see AI and rapid prototyping giving us the biggest gains in speed. And we know that gains in speed is what helps with our competitive advantage as we develop products. And this is externally, but also internally. Imagine if you are working for internal tools at your company and you can go from idea to validated working prototype with internal stakeholders in 24 hours. What would the velocity look like? What kind of stuff could you do for your organization? Now, why is this AI prototyping the killer feature? Why is this, in my opinion, the key PM skill coming out? Kevin, the CPO of OpenAI, mentioned that AI evaluations, if you won't go into it, as being the key product skill for the key skill for product managers in the AI age. And I actually think that rapid prototyping is, because it applies to more people. And this applies whether or not you're working on AI products. But if the example I told you didn't help, the core is that one, we can move significantly quicker. So that's one of the biggest things. We can move faster. We can get from idea to prototype and to validated prototype. The second thing is that, from that, what I explained, given that you can talk to the LLM and have it build out the prototype, well, does the product manager need to do that? Can someone at marketing have a conversation or have an idea and go through the exact same process? Can the executive assistant, when she's got some time based on like the number of emails that she's seen for her boss, kind of test an idea and get it to work? When everyone can become a builder and when everyone can take their ideas and prove or disprove, we really start to unlock some really interesting things. We're only kind of starting to broach the subject, broach this, the impact this. And then one of the last things is that when, as a product team, we all start to move to rapid prototyping, we all start speaking in the same language, and it's the best language ever. It's code, right? The marketer, the designer, the product manager, we're all talking in code. It's not production code. I'm going to just be a consistent theme. It's not production code. It is a prototype. But the prototype that you hand the designer has actual components in it. It has actual elements. She can give you her design system or their design system, and you can use that so that your prototypes actually adhere to your design standards. But the fact is, when we stop, a lot of translation in the product development lifecycle is going from document or thought to production. And when everything is in that same language, when everyone can speak it, and that language is also the same language as production, we can really, really increase the speed that we can execute on. All right. Now, the iterative cycle. The lean startup for me is the goat and the end all be all. I've taught two different courses at a collegiate level in two different universities, and in both instances, in both cases, I made sure to talk about the lean startup, and I made sure to bring this in to my thinking. Lean startup, for those who don't know, Eric Ries had kind of made popular the term MVP. When I was out in the Bay, out in those companies, it was the Bible. He was, killing it. And the premise is that I need to learn what the customer wants. Normally, I need to build a product. Let's say you're Tesla, right? You can think of like, I need to build the car. I need to give it to people, and assume that there's no beta testing. I need to ship it, launch it, and then wait after I've spent billions of dollars to see whether people want it. And that's just not efficient. What's easier is you can go ask 100 people, like, do you want an electric car? Right? That's a little bit of signal. Do you have the capability to charge a car in your house? So what we talk about is, how can we get this validated learning? How do we build, measure, get it out to users, measure it, and then devise some learnings from that? And how to do that as quick as possible? And so AI and these rapid prototypings allow us to do this significantly faster. And that's one reason why out of all of the things that artificial intelligence can do, of all the uh, tools that we do have, AI rapid prototyping for product management is one of the key things. Now, this is not easy. Um, some of you have seen on YouTube or maybe on LinkedIn, maybe even a short that where someone was like, I built an app in a weekend and it made me $30,000. Or um, companies X says like, we launched this feature and this feature started out because an exec had an idea, or like someone on the team had an idea and they went and vibe coded. But the truth is, vibe coding, just to separate the two, there's vibe coding and AI prototyping. Vibe coding is the more common term. It's the premise that you are vibing with the LLM, you're telling it to do something. So, easy case would be talking to Gemini, I'm having it build out an app, it's messing up, and I just kind of talk to it, and I just kind of work through it, and while I'm sitting, watching TV or catching up on something else. Now, um, AI prototyping is the regimented practice, excuse me, real life, is the regimented practice of thinking through an idea, defining it, putting it together as a spec, and then helping it come to life. One quick thing too is that I noticed there's a question that came up, so I shared the link to AHA Slides a little bit earlier. That link, there's a Q&A, and I will be answering questions at the end. So want to just have some time, anything, but if you have questions, chat, feel free to throw them up now. I'm happy to kind of like address them or work them in as they make sense. So when I went around and asked, my mom had no idea what vibe coding was. My wife, not so much either. But when I asked other product managers, I'm talking about product managers at some of the biggest companies, some of the most famous forward-thinking tech companies, some of just the biggest, largest banks and organizations, nonprofits, government institutions. There's a lot of them hadn't heard of this. Kind of maybe heard of AI assisted programming or something like that, but a lot of them just had a lot of experienced PMs. And then the ones that did, common you hear, I tried it, I told it, build me Facebook, or no one's building Facebook in 2025. Build me a calorie tracker app that is based on the emails that I get from my Amazon cart, and then calculates this, and they ask this just basically they put it into something, it starts spitting, and then it doesn't work. Basically, it's the one-shot fallacy, as I like to call it. They expect that I can just tell AI, because we've been promised that AI is just going to do everything for us, but it's just unrealistic. Realistically, it oftentimes takes as much time to build a tool using AI or this code than to do the thing itself. Allergies. I love it. But as John was mentioning in the past section, the what we're looking for is that repeated. Thanks, Rick, for the bless you. What we're looking for is that repeatability. We build it once, and then we can use it multiple times. So the solution to this issue is that we need to both approach and deliver and deploy AI prototyping strategically. There are companies that have just said like, hey, everybody, you have a license to X. And what happens is no one uses it, or 2 and 3 people use it, and they use it in a silo. And when they try and give it to engineering, they say, why did you do this? It's stupid. I can't use it. So there's a way to think about how to deploy AI prototyping. And based on all this research, what we've come up with is 10 commandments that we will be talking about today. But one thing actually I wanted to do was do a quick demo that actually happened to me earlier today. So for any of you who know me personally, I am the definition of procrastination. It's something I've tried to get better at over the years. It just never sticks. And the truth is, AI has made me even worse at it. This morning, because I'm also, in addition to all these other things, I'm very much a dad, and very much focused on giving my kids everything. I had to go to Donuts for Dads. Donuts for Dads at my son's school is a program where the dads all come in, we eat donuts. As I'm getting ready this morning, I was like, crap, I did not put together any type of like landing page or anything to follow up with anyone around what we're doing and like, what's that going to look like? So, been really playing around a lot with uh, Notion's AI tool, which has been really great because it has access to everything. So I said Notion, hey, we're thinking about going to my meetings over the last couple of weeks and what we've been talking about in terms of the AI education and how we want to approach it. I then went to Claude, and so Claude, I have a bunch of MCPs that both plug into Notion and both plug into my Google Drive. And I said, okay, take this Notion and go ahead and start putting together a landing page. So this is vibe coding or AI prototyping at its best. I'm going to turn on my camera while I blow my nose one more time. Now, um, at this stage, I am driving to my son's school. I am not in front of a computer. And so if you see some of these weird, it's because I was voice prompting into Claude and I was telling it to look at some stuff and I was like, hey, give me some ideas. And so I came up with this, prototype landing page. And it's not too bad. It's not too bad. All right. Hopefully that's all of it. Allergies. All right. So it's not too bad, but I was like, it's kind of there. Some of the stuff is made up. It's just wrong. So I went to Gemini. I was like, I haven't used Gemini in a while. I was like, oh, Gemini's really stepped it up. I copied the code. I actually copied the HTML and I basically said, hey, update this design. Literally all I did. I copied it and said, update this design. And it was like, sure, I got you. And it came up with a better improvement. And we went a few rounds on this one. Now, my go-to though, the GOAT for me when it comes to visual is V0. So I then took that version and gave it to V0. But one thing is I needed to be able to collect people's information. And when I asked V0 to do it, it was like, hey, can you connect us to your database account that you have? We know that you got it. I am at this point eating donuts with my son, drinking coffee, listening to them speech. And I am like, I do not have time to get you API keys and credentials. I was like, Lovable just updated their platform, and they now have databases built in internally. So another hop. I took the code again. You can see it here. Copied it and pasted it into Lovable. I said, Lovable, hey, I need you to fix this stuff. And then I was like, there's some more incorrect information. I was like, oh, I need the picture and things along those lines. Let's fix this. And to that, you now have, and anyone can access this now. I'd love almost for someone to point out issues that I missed because if I didn't, I would be highly surprised and shocked. Why can I not find the chat window now? But this is, where's the chat window? Ah, long day, long day. Coffees, donuts. All right. So this is the reality of rapid prototyping, right? I do not have time to sit down. I pinged someone on my team. They weren't available. It's my fault. I should have thought about this before, but this is just a very simple example. But that was done in the last what did I say, like 45 minutes, something along those lines. Maybe it was around 2 hours from start to finish. But I was thinking about, I have tons of these side projects. We use this all the time, but it was just very visceral, very real. Yes, responsive design. Actually, that was an issue. I was doing it on my phone. It's another great thing about actually doing it on your phone, is that I could see all of the issues with the responsive design as they came in. All right, so now digging into the 10 commandments of rapid prototyping. before that, another poll. All right. So we talked about what, all right, if people had done this rapid prototyping, and most haven't. Now I'm interested to hear how do you feel about AI prototyping? So just in one word, and this will produce a word cloud. So the more popular, the stronger points will start to stick out and come through. Um, while you all tell me about your feelings towards AI prototyping, I'm going to give my nose one more. All right, these are some good ones. Curious, empowered, utilitarian, excited, friction. Ooh, that's mind blown, scary. I do love AI demos. I do love prototyping because it's crazy the kind of stuff that comes up very, very quickly. All right, I'm going to let that run actually, and then I'll come back and we'll see what some more of the responses are looking like. All right, so the first commandment, as I have mentioned a few times around production code, is thou shalt not proclaim not thyself a developer. If you are a vibe coder, if you are a prototyper, you are not an engineer. You can be an engineer. Don't get me wrong. If you're an engineer, but I make a very distinct distinction between AI enhanced software engineering. You need to understand security. You need to understand what the LLM is doing. You need to understand where things are going wrong. You need to understand the rules, the guidelines, because you're building production software. You're putting people's credit card information at risk. That is engineering. You are not an engineer. You are a prototyper. You are a coder, let's say. You could be a hacker, but you're not a engineer. And through these commandments, I'm going to come back to them at the end, but I'm going to talk about some examples. So these are some interviews that I did that were really impacted me and impacted a lot of my thinking. So the first one was with a product manager from Netflix. What he did was, with his team of product managers at Netflix, he organized an internal small AI build-a-thon, as we call them. AI hackathon, for those who know, but hack kind of implies a little bit more engineering, so we like to say build-a-thon. So what he did was he had the team split up, take different challenges that they had, and helped get the tools ready for them so that they could work on this. So in this instance, he was very clear in that, we're developing prototypes. We're not putting production code. We're not, hitting ship and turning this on, but we are creating these experiences. Someone else I want to feature is someone from RV Health. Name's JD. He worked with us on the Detroit Build-a-thon. He works with WNCP but has done and with this too, I don't want to, I may embellish some things too. So just in case JD or anyone that comes up, but these are very based on our stories and what we've talked about. But he, as an engineer, has rolled out Cursor to his organization, and he's at the point now where non-technical individuals are looking to start using it. And one thing he was very intentional in doing is he thought about different experiences. He thought about the junior developer, the senior experienced developer. Now they're starting to address the marketer, and thought about what is the value that they will get from rapid prototyping and how to present that. And I think that was extremely important and extremely thoughtful. So just because you are talking to a thing that's making code, you're not an engineer, you understand kind of your limitations, but there's a lot of value, and that is not something to shy away from. Commandment number 2 is before code, there was the spec. So the Netflix PM, he was saying that he was talking to the team, and this is the one-shot fallacy. So especially if you watch YouTube videos, it's always make me Mario, right? You say that, and the LM just figures it all out. The truth is, this just causes so many issues for so many reasons, from visual inconsistency. You click to one page to the next, and you're like, why is the box completely different? The header changes around, like links don't work. And it's because a spec or PRD, products requirement document, there's a lot of talk about this going on right now. GitHub just released an open source spec kit. So they released an AI tool that will, you can speak to it and it will help you walk you through all of the questions that you need as a product manager. But the PRD is going to define specific things. One is, what is the purpose of this product in particular? What is the value that we're planning to deliver to the user? What are our assumptions that we want to test? Then, and it's really helpful to, and you can do this with ChatGPT, Claude, any general Gemini, any general LLM. It's great to just give it the idea. Say, I want a PRD, I want a product requirements document. I want to define my product, and I need something that I'm going to give it to LLM. So I'm going to give it to LLM. And you'll, the other thing is a tech stack. So there's several packages and tools that are easier for AI to work with because it can write it better. It was just trained on that knowledge. Certain languages are kind of dead, so there's not a lot of information for it. So understanding the tech stack and putting that information to the PRD document. Also, it helps to have it think through your database structure and things along those lines. But there's a lot of good things that you can work beforehand. And this will, the reason this helps is because what happens is those prompts that they don't show you on the YouTube videos, after you say, hey, build me Mario, then you say, build the second level. And what it does is it rewrote the first level. So it deleted the first level and rewrote it. And you're like, crap, that's not what I meant. When you give it the definition, you say we're going to have 10 levels and this is what Mario does. It gives the AI, it allows it to manage its context better. So instead of it trying to keep everything in its memory, you can go and reference a file, load that into memory. So just remember that specs and breaking them down into multiple parts helps. All right, so before I close it out, just want to go back to the word cloud. And interestingly, it looks like excited and curious are the two biggest, which is what I'm trying to do here. So beautiful there. Empowered, that honestly, and this is not to go off on a tangent, but that's how I do feel a lot with these tools. When I was sitting there, being able to engage with my son and eat these donuts and be a part of his school while still building out something that I validly needed and was going to deliver value to me in the next 42 minutes was extremely important. So, all right, have some more polls coming up in a little bit. All right, so spec, think. Commandment 3, know thy LLM. All right, there's some basic understandings about large language models and AI that really help when it comes to AI prototyping. Context is a word I've said like 3-4 times, but this is essentially how much text the model can use when generating or answering your question. The reason this comes up, for example, is if you have a billion lines of code, right? If you have a huge code base that you're trying to prototype or build something on, certain models, for example, Google Gemini can hold 5x, for example, the amount of context as Claude Opus. Also, reasoning models versus non-reasoning models, there's a different cost associated. So if you're making very small, simple edits and you're using Claude Opus, you will pay $1 to $2 per question asked, and if you don't manage the context. So understanding some core basics of LLMs and AI really makes a huge difference. And going back to the examples with RV Health, they really did, I mean, from, as I was told, you know, an amazing job just educating individuals. There was regular ongoing sessions. He was able to find individuals who were really interested to go deep and help them understand how to teach others. So as opposed to just kind of saying, hey, everybody, here's a tool, here's some YouTube videos, they really took a time to work people and understand the understanding what to do. So quick question around tools and their best uses. I do actually have a link, a component, something we built called the AI PM tech stack. So it talks about all the tools that I was using when I built it. The truth is, as I kind of alluded to it before, 5 new tools have launched since I started this talk. It was 3 when I mentioned it before. It's now 5. And then 2 of them have already hit $1 billion valuation. Like, the number of tools coming out has been insane. It is nice that part of my job is to be on top of this and to know this. So as a result, I get to professionally spend time digging into these tools. But There are several different YouTube channels. AI Grid is kind of one, but it is complicated, for lack of a better word. Product Hunt comes out with a lot of new ones, but it is complicated to be honest to find. ChatGPT and Perplexity can be pretty good, but sometimes even the tools come out so quickly that they aren't staying abreast of things. GitHub too. There's also open source projects. Anyways, commit early and often. If you don't know what GitHub is or a code repository is, as soon as you decide, as soon as you generate code, start committing. Um, I'll actually just open up our repository. So, as a company, and you guys are seeing some of the private repositories in addition to some of the public ones, but we are constantly like checking in code and adding in comments. And one of the reasons too is because we can build a story of what happened based on the this one. So this is a private repo. Yeah, 17 commits. So we're building when we were building out for the build-a-thon, we built out a bunch of content. And as we were building content, we first started by actually vibe coding and building out a prototype. And then we built instructions on how to build that prototype. One of the things that we did was we committed. So as we're building, we make these commits, we give these comments. And when we were building out the instructions, we were actually able to go back and look at what we wrote when, like how we implemented certain things, and did that make sense? Did we do something one way and then have to walk it back? And that was really informative to then be able to teach that to other people. So these commits help your entire team, whoever's orchestrating this artifact. In a year or two, when the tools are great at looking at everything in the past and spitting some things out, but the biggest thing is just you get to roll things back. I mentioned that Mario Brothers example where we'll delete the first level to build the second one. When you commit your code, there's a button you push and it will just go back. And you can even say, okay, look at the old code, look at the new code, see where you messed up, fix it. So commit early, commit often. And there are also several tools, cloud agents now, for example, ChatGPT Codex. If you have a paid subscription, that is the most accessible high-level AI prototyping tool you have access to, because Claude Code you need to pay for. ChatGPT Codex, it is literally a link. It says Codex. You can connect it to a GitHub repository. It will download your code for you. Play with it 15, 20 minutes and make changes. So you can go on Lovable, try some things out, put into a code repository, and then play around. But committing allows your code to change, and it allows you to correct errors. Choose thy tool, then master it. Going back to tools, I fortunately get to spend all day just trying out a bunch of stuff. And it takes forever, it takes all day. I found it is much better to pick tools that generally work. So I tried things out, but I have my base, because even the configuration files, learnings don't transfer. Cursor rules don't work in Claude Code. Claude Code's claude.md file, well, actually now Cursor can use it, but Gemini CLI and Codex doesn't respect it. So, and going back to some of these examples, so back with RV Health, they chose Cursor. They chose Cursor as their platform. They're standardized. They're around clear rules and training. And then at Netflix, there are certain tools that were pre-cleared. So there was a tool in particular that was pre-cleared, and they started with that as a base because they knew everyone would have access to it. All right, another poll. Let's see who I have lost yet. All right, what is the biggest barrier to rapid prototyping? So this is gonna be 1 to 3 words. I'm gonna let that run. I'm gonna keep going. I'm gonna come back to it as I've dug into my Q&A time already. Commandment 6, respect security and stay in thine lane. This goes back to being a developer. So both with Netflix, RV Health actually great, where they have a committee to think about governance. They set up allowable commands, rules, access to databases, and things like that. The truth is, LLMs don't understand security unless you tell it. They're building in more tools, they're building in checks for this, but your LLM can ruin your entire life and your company if you don't understand what you're doing. So before you go into it, if you're doing it in a closed ecosystem, it's fine, but even be careful about what you copy that's confidential information that you bring into these systems. Number 7, ask and ye shall learn. Do not just give the LLM code and the system and let it go on and then go about your business and not ask questions, not figure out what it's doing, and just be like, I don't know what tech stack, I don't know what. The more you, it will ask and explain everything that you want to it, and so it really will help you be a better prototyper by asking what it's doing and the type of systems or stacks that it's using and the decisions it's making. Design with one true system. Consistency. If you can build a design system, if your company or your team has a design system, if you just have a design system. I, for example, have different visual design docs that have hex codes in it and other things like that. I can drop that into my different prototypes, so I have consistent theming across my different ideas. It also helps me get up and running because I don't need to come up with a new different visual style every single time. Do not marry the prototype. Remember that these are prototypes. The goal here, and this, what I'm trying to show you, is that you're building paper airplanes. Paper airplanes influence how you build a Boeing 737, but you can't turn a paper airplane into a Boeing 737. You need to understand you're throwing away throwaway code and that there's a different process for how you engineer and build that, and to respect that because you're focused on learning and speed. All right, let's check in on the word crowd really quick. All right, so security. I wonder if that is in jumping into IP came up. Ignorance. Hey, too many options. Time to experiment. Lack of knowledge. Relevant data. How to start. Limitations. Experience. Describing first prototype. All right. I'm actually going to just let that run until we get our next Q&A. But these are the challenges that we are seeing real life. It was so immensely powerful to watch in that hackathon, those who have no corporation or company incentivizing them to do this stuff, but because they are truly passionate about stuff and go through the 8 million different tools and picking this stuff up and what it needs to do. So that's one thing that we as a company have really started to get good at and hone in on and be able to work with our clients to figure out like what makes sense for you and how can we get you through those hurdles. And the last thing is just iterate, don't perfect. Don't think that you're building some big really system. Again, you want to quickly make changes, you want to tweak. And the second thing is when you ask the LLM small questions, it is much better at doing 100 small tasks as opposed to one big 100x task. Shatera would not have won that $10,000 if she was trying to build a perfect product. She had she had 7 days to wow these judges, and she was a solo worker. The next two runner-ups were teams, and she beat them both by being very focused, having a really great idea, and being able to express that idea and the value to the judges very clearly. All right. Here I have technically another 20 minutes. All right, so just to recap, to make this not a bit approachable, I'll make these slides available if you go ahead and use my custom created landing page that I dropped a little bit earlier, and I will redrop. I am happy to send these out to folks. All right. But try and pick one thing. And then the thing I want to make to understand is that this is very approachable. This is not a Facebook like, oh, well, you have $1 billion to, play around with and give everyone time. No, a government organization. I showed you the example I used, right? This is a landing page I built a couple minutes ago for my very now small company that is 2.5 people. All right. Real examples. How is this actually? So honing in on those stories that I've been touching on, going a little bit deeper. All right. With that, another quick poll break. So I'm going to close this out. All right. How long does it take your team right now? Your team could be you. It could be your church group. It could be your school group. It could be your 100-person organization. How long does it take to go from an idea to a prototype? All right. Weeks and days. Folks are quick on that one. All right. So going back to Shatera's story, zero to demo in 7 days, $10,000. She came in not sure what she wanted to build, but she came in knowing we had a talk. It was mobility week. So this is talking about mobility. the movement of people, but it was co-sponsored by the state of Michigan, along with our venture partner in the Tech Transfer Office. And the goal was to really have individuals understand AI and apply these to problems hitting people in Detroit. And so, in those 7 days, she was able to show the value. And I would dare say, with this 10,000, she should be able to get to something that, and for she dedicates 1,000 of that to hosting, she should be able to launch this solution and actually get into the hands of shelters in Detroit. Going back to RV Health. So 1,600 is the total company. The team actually utilizing these tools is a lot smaller, but RV Health, it started with one person's focus on, I'm using this tool, I'm seeing a lot of impact on it, and I think this could impact everybody. He took a very thoughtful approach in terms of how he brought that to everyone else, and the gains they have seen have been massive. They came up with metrics. It took time to figure out how do we track efficiency? How do we track productivity? What does this mean? But they saw better, cleaner commits. They saw more frequent code and more generated code being generated, which isn't always the best measurement, but it is a measurement. And the truth is, having talked to a lot of different people, a lot of different companies, way ahead of the FANG companies. So those who don't know, FANG is Facebook, aka Meta, Amazon, Apple, Netflix, Google is a term for these big tech companies with these trillion-billion-dollar caps. I told you about Netflix. We're talking about Netflix. RV Health, to me, from my research, is light years ahead. And it's that thinking that I'm really attracted to. It's those stories that I'm trying to find and figure out how to standardize and implement that to more. Netflix, talked about the example, breaking down those silos, getting his team to more comfortable. And on his team, he had a range of skills from those who were non-technical to those who were very technical and helped them get to it. Peatlytics is a startup that I work with the founder on a regular basis. What they've been able to do is they took their discovery calls, and within 48 hours, they are now going back to their clients with a working prototype, and they use this to help close a voice agent system to be delivered to a suite of medical offices, several hundred doctors, I believe, in right now. Bringing it all together. So at WCPAI, it's really around the principles, right? This craft plus framework, these ideals. Practice, go out, play with this. I tell people, build a personal app. That's the best place to start. Build something that will impact your life, make it important, because that skill still applies at your house to whether you're going somewhere else. This is another, yeah. So what I actually want people to do is work on their next prototype. So what is that you want to work on, what you want to build? All right. Yeah, and a little bit more about WNCPAI. What we're really focused on is bringing this to company organizations. Now, with that, let's go finish out my polls and questions. All right, so weeks on average. So those who are at weeks, imagine if you get that to days, right? What would that do to your product delivery? And this will be the question. I'm going to leave it open, but it's going to be, what will you prototype first? And so there's a bunch of different categories, but while we do that, all right, there's no unanswered questions right here. So if anyone has a question, you can ask it here. But in the meantime, so I only have a few seconds, I'll answer any questions in the chat while seeing what people are interested in building first. All right, Agile startup and lean startup. Someone asked about before. So Agile startup, Agile process is the kind of sprint development lifecycle. It's a way of developing software. It's that there's some core tenets, the Agile Manifesto, but typically you want to have sprints. The goal is to constantly be releasing the software, getting into the hands of the users, and taking that feedback and feeding it back in. We don't sit and define everything that the product is going to do necessarily. We want to define the key user stories, but it's really around a feedback loop of developing quickly, getting it back out to our users or stakeholders, and then being able to bring that back. All right, work, personal productivity, work and team tools seem to be winning out. No surprise, I'm more family at home. One of the first apps I was working on was a reading app for my son. Let's see. Even though the idea to prototype can be done quickly, does the real product building and going to product time, how can we enhance using AI? So that is actually a much deeper talk for a much deeper area. And actually, my colleague JD and kind of the work and thinking about how he deployed this type of stuff at RV Health is a much better way to think about that. AI um, software engineering requires much more focus, much more constraints, and a higher focus on security. Before I take any more questions, just want to check with John because I think we should be wrapping up, but happy to
Right.
take.
You can go for another five. Yeah.
Oh, all right, cool.
Yeah.
Is there a vibe coding platform that can create high fidelity wireframes using hand drawn mockups and notations for interaction design? Yes. Um, okay, all right. Cool. Got some questions here. All right, so I'm gonna leave this one working. I kind of demoed a few with the thinking magic patterns is one. I think UA path might be a slightly newer one, but this one is heavily focused on UI. So it kind of almost gives you more of a something to export or move with Figma as opposed to less of fully functioning backend code. So really great for wireframes. There's different kind of bases that you can put. So there's a wireframe base, and so I've used this, for example, to after I'm getting going through the specking phase, right? I kind of just give it. This was ratchet board, which is I'm doing some internal design. I wanted a modern mood board. All right, let's go through some of these. Currently unemployed, looking for a job in project management with about 7 years experience, but more generalist. So there's something I should focus on learning about AI. So just hands down, right now is a time for reskilling. Okay, right now it's the person who knows AI that's going to take your job, and not the AI itself. So what I mean by that is there's actually a good Substack on called AI for Project Management. We heard earlier today from some great tools for project managers based on AI. Almost every project management software now, Asana, Notion, Trello, Jira. I do use all the cool startup ones, but they all have tools. So understanding prompt engineering, but the Zapier, the connections that John talked about earlier today, these are all great ways to update your skill set. We're hearing that Google is asking people in their interviews if they can vibe code. I've heard of people being asked to build a interface for a interview. We're actually interviewing and hiring a chief of staff here, and one of the assignments is going to be to vibe code a platform. How can we break into a PM position with a technical background? Does vibe coding help, and what else? And so PM here, I'm going to assume is product management. So it does. Before vibe coding, I used to tell people go build something. If you are technical, depending on your level of technical expertise, launch something. One way I broke into product management was I launched a blog. It was a dating and relationship blog. It still kind of exists, remnants, called Single Black Male. The process of building that out, thinking through the content, understanding my user, getting other people to work on it, carried me through so many interviews because I was just an engineer. And then I was an engineer who went to business school. And so vibe coding, if you build an app and you launch it, and if you get two people to download it and you put it in the store, you can put that on your resume as a valid tool. And as I mentioned, people are being asked and being interviewed on these skills. So it is something that can help you get through. If you're vibe coding, you're not an engineer, but you are. But are you a designer? Should non-designers hand off design decisions to AI? Great question. You shouldn't hand off anything to AI. Right. What I mean is that you should use AI to empower. You should ask it. So, for example, when I asked AI, you saw the process I went through to build this page. Right? I could have simply said, AI, build the page. It did it, right? I could have handed it off to it, but it hallucinated. It asked in weird things. It didn't have good design practices. Some of the color codes were off. So I do think as a designer, it is easier because in order to get rounded corners, you no longer have to sit and round all the corners. You can say, give me rounded corners. It is much easier to build design systems. And to the point, you can take screenshots now. Nana Banana, Gemini's image production tool, along with ChatGPT, you can give it a drawing on a napkin and it will produce a UI for you. Fed, what do you recommend first? So I don't know what RF reduction in force, I guess. Fed, I'm going to assume you worked in federal government and you no longer work there anymore, but upskilling. So there's a lot of different tools. It doesn't necessarily say that AI prototyping is going to be the one for you, but if you're looking to get into product, the idea of quickly iterating, kind of getting that feedback, being able to do that will help with your interviews. And then I know you're busy, but would you be open to sending our prototype for feedback? Email me or link me, DM me on LinkedIn. LinkedIn's really good. Actually, I should put my LinkedIn too. I am open to it. I will say right now, schedule is crazy. I am flying to New York tomorrow to do a panel on AI ethics, which I'm very excited about. Um, so I promise nothing, but I legitimately am interested in it. And one thing we are working on is to try and find a way to uh, it's not working. Try and find a way to share the the sorry solutions that most people come up with. All right, now I do think I'm officially at time.
Yep.
And
And a great and but we don't want you to stop because it was amazing and everybody wants your slides and obviously everybody will get the recording. So we will be following up with slides and recordings. And just a fantastic presentation, Damien. Thank you so much. Once again, knocked it out of the park. I think everybody's super excited. So we did go just a little bit over, but we have a little buffer. Still 10 minutes before the next session, which will also be a workshop with Sanjeev and George from Lightspeed, and they're going to be going over prototyping. So opportunity to keep going and to follow along. But I'm taking with me again the Craft Plus framework, which I love, and now these 10 commandments. And my first vibe coding app is going to be marketing. Vibe code work web pages. I don't do that. Anyway, great job. Thank you everybody for coming. This is we've really enjoyed the consistency. I see everybody coming back. It's been a fantastic day so far. Don't forget to go back to the agenda and click on the link to join again. We look forward to seeing you in the next one. Hope that you're having a wonderful day. And